Right guys, so here we are inside of my Mark III SEAT Leon Cupra 300. Take it for a little drive. Now, before I actually start this this driving review, there's one thing which is really bugging me about this car, and it's the only thing that bugs me about the car, but it is a rattle. Now, on the dashboard, where the virtual cockpit is, there's like a plastic binnacle that goes around that. There's a bit at the top which goes around the warning lights, and that is rattling, and it's driving me insane. I don't know if you can hear it now. I'll pop a clip in now so you can hear it. So yeah, that rattle is really annoying me. Now, I can probably take the trim off and put a bit of foam under there just to kind of cushion it, to stop it from rattling. But I've only had the car a month. Why should I have to? So it's got a 2-year warranty. It's probably going to go back to have that rectified, because with the music off, all I can focus on is that. Anyway, that is a rant out of the way. Everything else about the car, I'm really enjoying. And everything else about the car and the interior is solid. It's very much like a Volkswagen Golf, for example, so it's well put together. Everything is fairly solid. It doesn't really feel cheap and nasty. Everything you come to contact with feels nice. The steering wheel feels really nice, a nice sort of good quality leather. Touch points are really good. You don't get like the carpeted door bins which you get in the Golf, so it is a little bit cheap and nasty as you sort of go down beyond the things you touch. But overall, it is a nice place to be in this car. You've got some nice Alcantara line door cards. You've got ambient lighting in here at night, and you can change the colour of that as well. So there's 2 LED strips in the doors, and it matches a colour line which goes across the virtual cockpit as well. Infotainment is actually really good. It's touch screen. I think it's 8-inch. It's really easy to use. There are a lot of customizable features in there as well. And what I like to have up on the screen is the sport information screen. So I've got kilowatts, which is obviously a measure of power. I've got turbo boost pressure, and I've got my oil temperature as well. Oil temperature is quite an important one. And you can flick through those and customize those as well. You can customize the virtual cockpit display. There's loads of different things you can have on there, different information, etc, etc. So compared to other cars, maybe compared to like a Ford Focus ST, for example, there's a lot more you can do on this infotainment. We've also got a drive mode, so we've got normal, sport, Cupra and individual. So individual mode is a nice one to have because you can tailor all the bits and bobs how you want them. So you can adjust like the gearbox, you can adjust the diff, the steering, the air conditioning as well, and you can have them in comfort, sport or Cupra, so you can kind of dial it up to how you want it, which is a nice touch. Now, I normally drive this car around in comfort, and I just have the gearbox in auto, and this car has DCC as well, so dynamic chassis control, so in that setting the suspension will be at its most soft, and it's just a really comfortable drive. The gearbox doesn't annoy me actually when it's in automatic in comfort mode. It kind of does what you want it to do. I find like in our Audi, it feels really slow, and it seems to take ages to decide what gear it wants to go in. Whereas this thing will intuitively just kind of plod along, and it will just change gear as and when is necessary, and it doesn't bother me whatsoever. Probably could do with a 7th gear, to be fair, because when you are sort of on a motorway, it does get up into 6th gear very quickly, and then the revs are probably a little bit higher than what you'd like them to be when you're sort of cruising around the 70-mile-an-hour mark. Now the Cupra 290, that does actually have an update, and it does have a 7-speed DSG gearbox, but we're in the 300 here, so we have the 6-speed. So yeah, overall driving comfort is really good. Suspension is really nice. You can tell it's an adaptive setup. It just feels really nice and supple. When it's in its comfort mode, it's just absorbing the bumps. You're not getting jigged around. It's just a really comfortable drive, and it literally, I have no complaints. I've got Apple CarPlay, I've got heated seats, I've got dual zone auto climate control. All of the mod cons. I can have a sat nav up on the dashboard here, on the digital cockpit. I've got enough controls at the steering wheel, what I need. I can't really fault it. I've got a nice centre armrest which you can slide backwards and forwards. You can adjust up and down. Oh, another thing I don't like, I said there was only one, there's another thing, and it's the cup holders. you've got two cup holders, but for some reason the one on the left has this weird sort of step to it. So just for example, let's just say a Costa coffee cup or a McDonald's cup. You can only get that in the right hand cup holder. It won't go in the left because it's got this weird step down thing which makes it smaller halfway down. I don't know why they did that, because if it's two of you, you've both got a coffee or a McDonald's cup. You can't put both in the cup holder. So SEAT, that was a stupid design. I feel like I quickly need to talk about MPG as well. MPG, this car is actually really quite frugal when you want it to be. So if you do obviously drive it very sensibly, just take it easy, you will see high 30s. I reckon you could probably get into a low 40s as well. But I can average around 35, 36 miles to the gallon on the work commute, which is mainly sort of dual carriageway, but there is a couple of smaller roads as well where you have to kind of use a bit more power and be less economical. So yeah, it's actually quite an economical car if you're just using this for a normal commute. And then if you do want to kind of ramp things up a bit, you will probably go down to like mid-20s, maybe low 20s if you're really pushing it. But on average, mixed driving, you're going to be doing high 20s, low 30s. So yeah, it's pretty good on fuel. Anyway, if we want to sort of ramp things up into a sportier mode, obviously we press our drive mode select button down there, and then we might as well just go into full-on Cupra, to be fair. And what will happen is the diff will go into Cupra, suspension will go into Cupra, you'll get a fake engine noise coming through the cabin. Some of you may like that, I'm not a fan. And also the car will idle slightly higher, which just gives it a bit more of a purr from the back. And your gearbox will also go into sport as well. And then you get auto rev matching, and basically everything just becomes a bit more sort of ferocious. And also, I only realised this about 2 weeks into ownership, you get pops and crackles from the exhaust. See, I've gone into manual mode. A few little pops there, I don't know if you could hear that. That is quite loud, I don't know if you could hear that, but the gear changes are really loud. A few more little pops. By the way, guys, it is wet, so we're braking traction in first and second. Wow, yeah, the pops are really loud. Yeah, so I don't know if you heard that, but it does sound pretty impressive for a standard exhaust in Cupra mode. It sounds decent. Now, this car is surprisingly fast. Now, I was expecting it to be quick. It's obviously a 300 brake horsepower, or 296 brake horsepower car, so it's going to be pretty quick through the front wheels, but it's quicker than what I expected. And it does it so, like, especially when the gearbox is in auto, and if you're in like just comfort mode and you put your foot down, it just builds pace so effortlessly, and you don't really realise until you look down at the speedo how fast you're actually going. So yeah, if you want to have a full-on engaging experience, as engaging as you can get in a DSG car, stick it in the most sportiest mode, so Cupra, flip it across into manual, and then God, this thing, it's relentless power, and it's consistent all the way through, and the gear changes are so quick. The second you change gear, you're straight back on the power. It's almost seamless. It is really impressive. The only little negative about the gearbox is it will change gear for you. If you go up to kind of near 7,000 revs, it will change gear for you, and you kind of think, is there any point in me even changing gear? Is that the optimum point when the car's changing gear for you, or are you losing a bit of speed? So, I mean, obviously you've still got the flexibility to downshift whenever you like and that kind of thing, but yeah, it'd be nice if you could just take it all the way up to the limiter. But the low down torque as well, it's just a really solid power band is probably the best way to explain it. And the suspension as well, it does firm up, obviously in the Cupra mode, but you have that kind of supple feel that you get on a lot of German cars with an adaptive setup. It feels like a good quality suspension setup. There's none of this kind of pogoing or bouncing around. It just sort of takes every bump and basically everything that's thrown at it really well. We also have an electronic limited slip differential. Now, I don't think it's quite as effective as like a traditional kind of mechanical quaif limited slip differential, like what I've got on my Focus RS. It does feel a little bit more skippy, should I say, around corners. It does scrabble a little bit more. I find with a mechanical one, it just hooks up and goes, but it still does the job nicely. It still will pull the front end around a corner without too many complaints, just a little bit scrabbly in comparison. But this car feels very light on its feet as well. It's very agile. When you've got the steering in its sportiest setting, it's a nice sort of solid feel. It does weight up a little bit as well. But there is a nice turn into the car, and it doesn't feel too artificial either. Obviously it's electric steering as well. It's just a great car, guys. It really is. And I think for the money, it's definitely it's a budget Golf GTI Club Sport essentially, with Golf R performance for probably £3,000 or £4,000 less. So for me, it's a no-brainer. It's front-wheel drive as well, so you still retain that kind of fun factor. You've got a bit of a fight on your hands when you accelerate in the lower gears, especially when it's damp, and it just makes it a bit more exciting. But yeah, that's it, guys. That is a quick video on how the Cupra 300 drives. I can do more videos in the future. If you want to see more things about the car, then by all means let me know in the comments. But I think we've touched upon most things. As I live with the car more day to day and I feel there's more things to cover, I probably will make a few more videos. But overall, it's just a really good fun car. It's very comfortable. It's easy to drive when you want it to be, and then you can flick it into manual, into Cupra mode, and you've got the engagement. Yeah, not quite as engaging as a manual, but it certainly does rock it down a road, and it certainly is good fun. So yeah, anyway, that's it from me. Until next time, guys, as always, take care, and I shall see you soon.